Good afternoon, and welcome to the 10 critical IT security protections every business must have in place now. Before we get started, I'd like to introduce who's leading our webinar, Josh Wilmoth. Josh is the CEO of CTTS Inc., one of the leading IT service companies in Central Texas for the past 15 years. He has over 19 years of experience providing both technical solutions and services to meet challenging business needs. He has the gift to listen to clients' challenges and transform them into technical solutions. He takes pride in taking ownership of the task, driving change through teams, and consistently delivering results above clients' expectations. Josh has proven successes as entrepreneur, business owner, technical engineer, and sales solution provider. He's recently published his first book, IT Survival Guide for Business Owners. You will learn how you can get your free copy of this book later in the presentation. Josh is also an active member of InfraGard. InfraGard is a nonprofit organization serving as a public-private partnership between U.S. businesses and the FBI and Homeland Security. Please welcome Josh Wilmoth.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much, Kara. That was a very nice introduction. I have to thank my mom for writing that introduction. It included everything on there except for walking on water. But first of all, just wanted to thank everybody for taking the time to come in and spend some time to go over these very important IT security protections for everybody's business. I know it's likely that this webinar today you're concerned, and rightfully so, about protecting you and your company from the vast and growing number of cyber threats that are out there today. There's lots of them out there, from the latest ransomware variant to bank and credit card fraud, rogue employees and regulatory actions, anything that can really keep you from taking care of your business and keeping your business down from weeks or days. And that can be from an employee virus or just an employee mistake. Ultimately, I know you're here to make sure you don't lose anything you've worked so hard to achieve in an instant, especially since it can be prevented. The good news is that it can be prevented, and your risks are significantly reduced with a few simple things you can put in place now. That's what we're going to talk about today, and we'll go over the number one security threat for your business that antivirus, firewalls, and other security protocols can't protect against. And really what it means to you is how you can protect against it. We're also going to cover the shocking truth about bank fraud and why most businesses don't know what could literally wipe out your bank account. A lot of folks don't understand that the FDIC that regulates all the banks does not protect them in a lot of the cases of fraud. So we're going to point some of those areas out. We're going to cover why firewalls and antivirus just aren't enough anymore. 20 years ago, 15 years ago, this was something that everybody had in place and everybody thought they were protected. That's not the case anymore. We're also going to talk about mobile phones and cloud applications and how the integration of all of these different utilities and applications and different things that we're using on every single day, social media, things that are going to affect us moving forward as far as from your security, from your productivity, and ultimately your business. Lastly, we're going to have kind of a questions and answer session. If you have any questions during this presentation, please use the GoToWebinar function to submit those, and then that way we can kind of group everything up and report back to anybody. If you think of any questions after the fact, please feel free to shoot us an email or reach out to us on social media. We're going to give you all of the different avenues you can reach us at the end. Ultimately, here's what we're going to cover. We're going to cover making sure you're not a sitting duck to cyber criminals and protect everything you've worked so hard to achieve. The reality is that most of you are already using cloud computing. You already have employees using mobile devices. It's a trend that's not going to slow down. However, you've got to be adding these elements of security and can't be putting things in a slapdash or haphazard way. And instead, you've got to be strategic about it. And because of that, you're making an expensive mistake and exposing yourself to unnecessary risks when you're just putting things out there. Before we get started, I want to just introduce CTTS, my company, and what we do. For over 15 years, CTTS has managed the IT needs of hundreds of businesses throughout Central Texas. CTTS is a complete technology solution provider. We are 100% committed to making sure business owners have the most reliable and professional IT services in Central Texas. Our team of talented IT professionals can solve your IT nightmares once and for all. We have essentially certain areas of expertise that is right in our wheelhouse and what we do every single day for numerous clients. First of all is managed IT services. What that means to you is we're proactively monitoring and maintaining your network, your servers, your computers, and mobile devices. Our help desk. We staff local experienced help desks to take responsibility for all your IT-related issues. When you call CTTS, you're speaking to someone here in our Georgetown office, not someone from around the country or around the world. Cloud computing. We offer secure, customizable solutions built specifically on your business need, from email and data storage to your entire infrastructure in the cloud. Disaster recovery. No matter the size of your business, you need a good backup solution. We offer local, cloud, and hybrid business continuity solutions. Next, business continuity. When backupping files and folders is not enough, we offer solutions to ensure that no matter the disaster, your company is always running. Lastly, voice over IP. It's scalable, low cost, no downtime, team collaboration, and calls from anywhere. If you're not looking at voice over IP to lower your cost and increase your abilities, you need to start. Ultimately, we're one single point of contact for all your IT needs. I appreciate you taking the time to spend with us today to learn about how to keep yourself protected. To say thank you, I wanted to give you my latest book, The IT Survival Guide for Business Owners. This is a business owner's guide for finding professional, competent, honest, considerate, on time, fairly priced, and dependable computer consultant. I also want to say thank you by giving you a free report. 5 critical facts every business owner must know before moving their network to the cloud. We wanted to give CEOs a simple, straightforward guide, not only answers to your questions in plain English, but also provides vital experience-based information that most IT companies don't know or may not tell you that could turn your migration into a big cash-draining nightmare. With the housekeeping out of the way, let's jump right in. I love this quote from Andrew Grove. He's the former CEO of Intel. Success breeds complacency. Complacency breeds failure. Only the paranoid survive. Think about that. Success in the context of our discussion today is what you may not be attacked yet, or you may have been compromised. The consequences are significant. Therefore, because of your success and not being a target yet, you become complacent about security measures in your organization. Only the paranoid survive. With cybersecurity incidents in the news every day, every organization needs to be given thought to what threats they face and how well protected they are. We're committed to share and educate to our followers via blog, Twitter, Facebook posts, and the latest threats for your business, happiness, and livelihood. At the end, we'll show you how to engage us on some of these platforms. Here are just a few examples of cybercrime in the news in recent days. An Austrian hotel was locked out of its electronic key lock system by ransomware. This is a 4-star Austrian Alps hotel that they admitted to being extorted after ransomware bad guys got into their system several times. During one of the attacks, the attackers reportedly left a backdoor into the system. The third attack occurring during the opening of the winter season. The computer was hit with ransomware and controlled the electronic key system, the reservation system, and the desk system. Guests could not log in, could not get into their rooms, their existing key cards did not work, nothing was going right. Arriving guests could have to stay in the lobby because the reservations could not be confirmed. The hotel had to pay the ransom. They had no other options. After the attackers received the ransom, roughly $1,600, they unlocked the computers and the hotel can function again. Dallas Police Department loses years of evidence in cyber attack. This one's interesting. It was believed that Russian attackers have become part of the national conversation as a result of their alleged attempts to swing the presidential election, but cybercrime is as old as the internet, and as law enforcement agencies and other public institutions have not been spared. The Cockrell Hill Police Department, which is southwest of Dallas, is just the latest police department to fall victim to ransomware. Ransomware is an attack which malicious software is installed on a computer after the link is clicked on an email or an email attachment is opened. Once installed, the software encrypts as many documents and folders as it can. A page will appear informing the victim that their files have been locked, and they can only get them back by paying a certain amount of money. Bitcoin is often the preferred currency. Officials from the Cockrell Hill Police Department did not respond to requests for comment, but the statement issued by the department on January 25th reported that the server was hit by the OIRIS ransomware variant on December 12th. We'll learn more about ransomware later in the presentation. 2 hackers were reportedly arrested in London under the suspicion that they were behind the cyber attack that took down CCTV cameras in Washington, D.C. ahead of President Trump's inauguration last month. 8 days before Trump's big day, Washington surveillance cameras were left useless after malware was made onto the storage devices recording data from the CCTV cameras across the city. It wasn't just any type of malware, it was ransomware, and the hackers tried to make a buck off the Washington, D.C. police. The entire situation lasted for about 3 days, during which 123 of the 187 video recorders stopped working. Ransomware is one of the most widespread malware types at the moment, slowly trickling to mobile devices as well. The malware infected to the computer encrypts all data that hackers have to require you to pay up, or your computer data is gone forever. The evolution of crime. In the old days, cybercrime business was pretty simple. You bought a gun or a knife, hid out in a dark alley, and when someone would walk up to you, jump out and say, "Stick 'em up," and then take their money. Startup cost and overhead were low, and if you didn't get caught, you'd be okay. But of course, just like any business owner, criminals started thinking, how can I grow my business? Of course, technology answered that question. Trains came along. Instead of robbing one person at a time, criminals could rob 200 to 300 people at a time. Robbing trains is far more lucrative catch than robbing individuals. Because these trains were crossing remote areas where they weren't organized police forces available. Second, individuals who were wealthy enough to afford train tickets were then being robbed, and they were rounded up and sitting in a single convenient location. Thanks to advancements in technology and the ever-increasing trend of storing financial and personal information on third-party cloud platforms, the new train robbers are cybercrime related. Think about it. If a criminal wanted to rob 100,000 people at once, they could do it the old-fashioned way. Today, that is all that's needed to rob millions, and they are, as you can tell by the increasing number of attacks that make it in the news every single day. Look, cybercrime is a business. Cybercrime rings have become very sophisticated. They're well-funded and organized, and like any other business, they don't have to follow the rules. A couple nights ago, I spent some time on the underground web, of the black market, if you will, and pulled some of the stats of what people could purchase, and this is anybody that took 5 minutes to Google exactly how to get into there. But credit card details, those are valuable pieces of information. $2 to $125. iTunes accounts, you can buy those, $8. Physical credit cards, $190. If you want your own machine to be able to create your own credit cards, credit card cloners, $200 to $300. You could even buy a fake driver's license for $200. This one amazed me, a U.S. citizenship. That's a big thing in the news right now. $10,000. If you've got the money, there's ways to make that happen. Fake ATMs. If you're looking to put your own ATM at, on the corner market beside the gas station, there you go. There's an opportunity right there. Anyone can easily buy training tools and services for committing fraud, hacking systems, buying stolen credit cards, setting up fake websites. Cybercrime is a thriving and growing business. Not just a few guys in a garage hanging out. Anything you might need to steal data and rob people can be purchased. You can now buy credit card details, social security numbers, and a number of other programs, devices, and software that allow you to set up your own crime ring. It is a thriving business. Remember the JP Morgan credit card hack in 2014? It wasn't just one person stealing a credit card. It was one person or a small group of people who stole tens of millions. It's an estimated 80 million cards. Personal credit cards were robbed and 7 million small to medium businesses in one fell swoop. And this was right on the heels of the Target and Home Depot attacks, where 40 million credit cards and 56 million credit cards from Home Depot. Think about that. Never in history of mankind has one person or small group of people been able to rob so many so quickly in one fell swoop. You might be thinking, well, I'm just a small business. I'm not a Target or a JP Morgan, so nobody would want to hack us. Wrong. First, These are larger companies that have very sophisticated security systems in place. They're not easy to hack. Therefore, if they are getting hacked, getting into your business is a cakewalk, which is why you are a bigger target than these larger institutions. The prize might not be as big, but you are far easier to rob than larger institutions, making you a prime target. And since cybercriminals have automation tools, they can make a large sum of money simply by targeting a few hundred or thousand small businesses. You don't have to hear about these attacks just because they don't make national news. The news wants you to focus on big stories. Second, most small businesses don't know they have been hacked or don't report it, so they're not embarrassed or afraid of the legal and reputational consequences. 1 in 5 small businesses falls victim to cybercrime each year, and the number is growing. Small businesses are low-hanging fruit because they don't believe they're a target and therefore have very loose or no security systems and protocols in place. Half of all cyber attacks are aimed at SMBs, small to medium businesses. That's huge. 154. Any idea what this number is? It's the number of the average estimated cost associated with a single stolen record, according to the Fomon Institute. Companies pay an average of $154 per lost or stolen record that contains sensitive and confidential information. This is an increase of $9 per record over last year. The average cost of lost business is $1.57 million. This includes abnormal customer turnover, increased customer acquisition costs, reputational losses, and diminished goodwill. These are the things most people don't take into account. The key point here, just because you're a small business doesn't mean your customers' information is any less valuable to them. What are you doing to be a good steward of their information? Bank fraud. The FDIC does not protect you from bank fraud, and the bank is not responsible for getting your money back. Fraudsters only need 2 pieces of information to pull off ACH fraud, a checking account number and a routing number. They typically obtain the information with a targeted phishing email that tricks the victim into running malicious software, in which allows criminals to install keylogging software and steal bank account passwords. For customers who have their bank accounts emptied by an ACH scam, federal banking regulations cap the liability at $50, so long as the fraud is reported in a timely manner. Next, what I'm about to share with you will be worth the entire visit to this webinar. It's tips for protecting yourself. We're becoming a cashless society. We're seeing it every single day. Always pay with a credit card. The Fair Credit Billing Act limits your liability for any fraudulent use of your credit card to $50. If you pay cash or by check, good luck finding the fraudster, getting a legal judgment against a perpetrator, or collecting on the judgment. At a minimum, work with your bank to put in a maximum transaction limit on your accounts if you are using debit cards. Keep hard copies of critical information in a safe, secure area. Sounds like common sense, but we see folks every single day that just aren't doing this. You want to keep hard copies of critical information, social security numbers, account numbers, things like that, in a safe, secure area. For electronic information, encrypt your data. Keep all data on electronic devices locked when not in use. We'll also visit this more later on in the webinar. Sign up for email and text alerts from your bank whenever the withdrawal happens over $100. Self-explanatory. Every bank has this feature nowadays. Sign up for it, utilize it. Here's a big one. Require your signature for any wire transfers. True story, 3 years ago, CFO of one of our clients was on Facebook. She became infected with a malware that her antivirus did not pick up. And what happened is it installed a keylogger on her machine. It was able to watch and understand every single one of the keystrokes that she typed, including the bank website that she went to, the username, and the password in there. When this happens, it doesn't make a difference how good your username and your password is, how strong, how secure they are. When someone's watching your keystrokes, they already know. What the bad guys were able to do was to transfer over $150,000 by wire out of their bank to the Bank of England. Once it goes across international waters, there was nothing that the local bank could do at that point. If it wasn't for the policy they had in place that any wire transfers required a phone call and a signature, which did not happen in this case, our client would be without the money. without the $150,000 that was transferred out. So you want to make sure you have little things like that taken care of. Require your signature for any wire transfers. Next, have your money spread out in multiple accounts to minimize the risk. Okay, many frauds are committed by groups and scammers that keep track of online victims. So you want to make sure you make it as hard as possible to, be moving things around and limit your risks out there. Fraud victims are preferred. There's a lot of people that become preferred targets. So if somebody set their eyes upon you and their sights on you as far as wanting to obtain some information regarding your company, your information, bad guys are creating profiles on you now. So they know your LinkedIn network. They know the past companies you've worked for. They know how to reach you in Facebook. They know that you were born in 1956. They know that you have 2 children. They start to build profiles around you so they can target you specifically to things that are true and real in your life. Biggest threats to business. We're going to cover just a couple items here, but we've had the privilege to work with hundreds of businesses in different industries in different parts of the country. They all face the same threats. Some more than others. Some are aware of those threats, but most are not. What we're going to do is we're going to cover some of those biggest threats to business, and they're increasing every single year. Social media continues to be a problem that most organizations are not giving enough attention. Number 1 threat, security. Over 600,000 Facebook accounts are hacked every single day. Huge, huge risk and target. Stats from last month that I was able to pull up, worldwide there's 1.86 billion monthly active Facebook users, which is a 17% increase over year. 5 new profiles are created every second. Facebook is not the only risk, but it's one of the biggest, and that is because there's so many people on it, and it is so much of our attention. We're always in Facebook. People are always looking at it on their phone. They're always checking it out on their computer. It is requiring a lot of our attention. Next into the social media realm is big for businesses, a significant loss of productivity. Did you know that the highest traffic count on Facebook is during the week from 1 to 3 p.m.? On Thursdays and Fridays, engagement in posts are 18% higher. And the average time spent on Facebook is 20 minutes. If you've got 10 employees and every one of them spending 20 minutes on Facebook, that's just at one time. Do the math, it's going to add up real quick. Here was an amazing stat. 1 in 5 page views in the United States occurs on Facebook. That's huge. That's huge. So again, it's not just Facebook. There's Tumblr, there's Twitter, there's Instagram, there's Snapchat, and there's new ones every day. There's tons of social media depending on if you like singing, if you just want to keep in track with family and friends, if it's from the business side of things. It's here to stay. It's something that needs attention. Bad PR. I don't know if you guys remember this scandal. This is from back in 2012. This is the gentleman from Burger King who they took pictures of him standing on top of the lettuce bins. It didn't include his picture, didn't include a lot of information, but there were folks out there that were able to determine exactly where this individual was, what location they were at, and basically bring him down. You've got to think about it. Every 60 seconds on Facebook, 510,000 comments are posted. 293 statuses are updated, 136,000 photos are uploaded. Just think about some of those stats. Is someone in your organization negatively commenting on an upset client experience? Are they posting questionable pictures with your logoed shirt prominently displayed? Those are questions you need to ask. Many businesses need a plan for managing all the social media platforms, and it's not just Facebook. The next threat is ransomware. We touched on it a little bit earlier, but again, ransomware is a type of malware that prevents or limits users from accessing their system, either by locking the system screen or by locking the user's files and folders until the ransom is paid. More modern ransomware collectively categorizes as crypto ransomware, encrypts certain files and infected systems, and focuses users to pay the ransom through certain online payment methods to get a decryption key. The crime is called ransomware. Cybercriminals send malicious software disguised looking like legitimate email or web links to trick unknowing customers to click on it. Once that happens, the attackers are able to lock up the device and encrypt the files until they receive payment. It's a modern day ransom note. We had a client several years ago that they were brand new for us, just onboarded them, and we'd given them a list of action items that needed immediate attention. The number one thing on that list was a disaster recovery policy and plan. They were a nonprofit organization, very, very large. They did not act fast enough. Right after receiving our recommendations, one of their associates clicked on an email attachment and infected their computer with ransomware. Before she figured out what was going on, it was already on the server, on the file system, working through each one of the folders in that file system. This organization had been around for 100 years. They had scanned documents and materials from the initial days of that organization starting. Because they did not have a backup in place, we had to pay the ransom. It was a lengthy process of converting US dollars into Bitcoin, transferring the Bitcoin over to the cyber criminals. They in turn gave us a decryption key. Sometimes those decryption keys do not work. Most of the time they do, because they want you to continue paying and hear about these bad stories. So we had to pay the ransomware, and we were able to get back all of the files on the server. The only problem is the images within the PDFs, pages at a time and half pages at a time, were all grayed out as they were completely encrypted. So important tax documents they had, articles of incorporation, different business things that they had created from many, many years ago were lost and completely gone. Now, computers and servers, they're kind of the hostage target of choice. But recently, we've seen smart TVs become targets. A recent report of a person downloading an app for free movies on their TV. Within the hour, the TV froze up, flashed a message from the FBI, not really the FBI, but a fake-looking official badge there, demanding a $500 payment. The TV was locked up and could no longer be used for any other function, and there's no way around it. So it becomes a brick. Ransomware is now mainstream. Our homes on average have 10 internet-connected items in it today, whether it's an alarm system, an automation system, a camera, a doorbell, smart TV, a smart refrigerator. These objects are all endpoints and can be infiltrated with this type of malicious code. Just last month, January 2016, ransomware accounted for 18% of the global malware payloads via spam and exploit kits. Fast forward 10 months, Malwarebytes found that ransomware had skyrocketed to account for 66% of the malware payloads, a staggering 267% increase. This surge in growth can be attributed to how easy ransomware is for hackers. For $39, you can buy a ransomware kit. It shows you how to set up ransomware, how to target everything. It's basically a one-stop shop that you can target and become your own cyber criminal. It's very, very easy to do. It doesn't take a lot of searching to do. Disgruntled employees are doing it. Kids that are bored are doing it, and it's a way to make huge amounts of money. There's no silver bullet when it comes to stopping ransomware. It's a multi-layered approach that prevents it from reaching networks and systems in the best way to minimize the risk. So we're going to get into that in a little bit later, but you need to be aware of ransomware, what it is, how it affects you, and make sure you got a plan in place if it does come across your doorstep. Shadow IT, threat number 5. Shadow IT refers to the information technology software or service that's managed outside of and without the knowledge of your IT department. So let's think about what's installed on your computer now. Do you have Slack? Do you have Evernote? Are you using Dropbox? You know, we've all heard the term, there's an app for that, and there is. But what apps are allowed in your organization? Do you keep them patched and up to date? What happens if that information is compromised? What happens when that employee leaves? Do you take your data, your clients, and proposals with them? All things to think about. So shadow IT, you've got to know what's allowed in your organization. You've got to be able to lock down what applications you want people installing, whether they're on their machines or whether they're on their mobile devices. There needs to be a plan in place. The next frontier, mobile. We've all got a mobile phone. How many of us use it to access our company email? How about your employees? How many of you have a password or a PIN on your phone? Do you have it set to auto lock after being idle after 30 seconds or a minute or 5 minutes? Is the data encrypted on your phone? What happens if it was lost or stolen? Do you have a remote kill switch to wipe it if it's lost or stolen? 87% of Android users had an outdated operating system installed on their smartphone or tablet. In this graph, you can see that over 1.7 million new Android malware samples were detected on the first half of the year of 2016, but ended up at the end with a forecast of over 4 million new threats at the end of 2016. Again, just like Facebook, mobile devices are a huge target. And as we're becoming to where we're putting our credit card information and storing that on our phone to be able to pay quickly at the checkout line, we've got to be able to know exactly what's going on your mobile devices and what risks you do have. Mobile computing danger is on the rise. If a device is lost or stolen and the data was not encrypted, you may have violated a Texas data breach law. Many people don't realize that. You know, realtors, they keep social security numbers on contracts. CPAs keep a lot of financial information and records on their clients. Even as an employer, you keep this information on employees, which could be deemed as a data breach violation if stored and not encrypted. In the article here, it talks about a hospice organization that was fined $50,000 for a stolen laptop that had unencrypted patient information on it. Even though the thief was apprehended and the thief didn't have any results to the known criminal activity against the patients. Just because it wasn't encrypted, they had to pay $50,000. So let's face it, protecting your identity from thieves is getting harder by the day. The moment you give out your personal information to another entity, whether it be the bank, the DMV, or a medical provider, you give up control over that information and how it might be used. Let's look at a few ways thieves get your personal information. This is the value of a hacked PC. It's a great graphic. It's easy to understand. We hear it all the time. I don't bank online. I don't store sensitive information on my machine. I only use it to check email. What would hackers possibly want with this hunk of junk, right? Well, you see it here, whether it be from online games that you're doing, any social media, whether it be your email, your credit card information, website credentials, turning your machine into a zombie to do certain things, to turn it into a web server to where other people are actually accessing stored information on your machine. You know, one of the ideas I wanted to get across with this image is that nearly every aspect of a hacked computer and a user's online life can be commoditized. If it has value to be resold, you can be sure there was a service or product offered in the cyber criminal underground to monetize it. I haven't found an exception to this rule yet. Very powerful. Here's another way. Insecure wireless networks. While it may be convenient while sipping on a latte at Starbucks, reviewing your online bank account, public Wi-Fi is a feeding ground for identity thieves. Dangerous and open Wi-Fi networks in parks, airports, shopping malls, museums, libraries. Protect yourself against Wi-Fi snoops by installing a VPN, Virtual Private Network. It's a software that encrypts all your traffic from your laptop or smartphone out to the world. So anything that goes across those channels and if anybody intercepts those, it cannot be readable. Here's a big one, posting personal information on social media. Love the graphic here. A good way to get to know your date. Ask them about their first pet. Ask them about their favorite movie. Ask them about their mom's maiden name. Then log in and read all their email. It happens. The more personal details you post on social media, the easier it is for the thief to steal your identity. Think about it. On your Facebook profile, for instance, do you list your full birthday and year, as well as your childhood hometown? What about your parents' full name? If so, just giving a thief enough information to take over your identity without him having to break a sweat. Be very careful what you put out there. Letting online retailers save your credit card information. Almost every store selling things from Amazon to eBay to local shops will offer you to save credit card number so you don't have to type it in next time. It is convenient, but it also puts you in jeopardy if they're hacked. And it's just a matter of time before they will get hacked. Don't be among the victims in the next time the huge data breach happens. Decline the online retailer offers and type in your credit card number every single time. Spam. Cybercriminals will try to get you to do something to steal your personal information. Watch out for unsolicited emails, now even texts. I get texts all the time. Social media posts or fake websites that may prompt you to click on a link or share valuable personal and financial information. Armed with this information, online thieves can pilfer funds and or commit identity theft. And unfamiliar links or attachments can contain malware, viruses, spyware, and other unwanted software that gets installed on your computer or mobile device without your consent, which can infect computer files if opened. So Brian Krebs, huge security guy out there. This is from his book, Spam Nation. Spam remains the single biggest driver of big breaches today. If we look at some of the biggest data breaches in recent memory, JP Morgan, Target, RSA Security come to mind, they all began with a poisoned email. You've got to make sure that your company email, your personal email, you've got the proper things in place to keep yourself protected and your employees. Phishing. We've all seen these emails. Phishing is when an online scammer sends you a pop-up or spam message trying to get you to provide personal or sensitive information over the web. So you can see here in the upper right-hand corner of that image that the online banking at alert.bankofamerica.doc.com is a little fishy. The doc.com is from another website. So there's little things you can look at that you can identify. Ultimately, you never want to click on these links. You want to go straight to the website and log in through your normal, saved items, favorites, and then go in there and retrieve any kind of information that may be trying to be communicated to you. Spear phishing. This is an example of a spear phishing email message that came through. It's more of a mischievous type. Instead of casting out thousands of emails and hoping that a few victims may bite, a spear phisher targets select groups of people with something in common. They work at the same company. The bank at the same financial institute. They attended the same college. They order merchandise from the same website. Whatever it may be, these emails are sent from organizations or individuals to the potential victims that would get their emails from, making it even more deceptive. So it looks legitimate. They're trying to get you to do something, and there's a lot of different variants of this, whether they're trying to get you to transfer money, whether they're saying, hey, I need to get my password reset, click on this and give me my 3 security questions so I can get in. They're specifically targeting you and or something about you in order to get that to get somebody within your organization to give up some details. Email scams. We've all seen these. They're offers, they're details, sales pitches, if you will, links to informational websites. These are seemingly harmless emails that are actually making of an internet crime. They'll ask you for credit card information, to buy fake product, or to pay for shipping on a free gift. So be aware, be aware. Spyware. Spyware is something that's installed on your computer without your consent to monitor and control your computer use. Browser toolbars and coupon printers is what we see the most out there. So those things sit on your machine and they're watching exactly what you're doing, where you're buying things, what websites you're visiting, tons of information they're gleaning from you and you don't even know it. Now you know how to get some of that information, they're getting some of that information. Let's discuss how to protect yourself. So 10 critical IT security protections every business must have in place now. 1 in 5 small businesses will suffer from a cyber breach this year. 81% of all breaches happen to small and medium-sized businesses. 97% of breaches could have been prevented with today's technology. Number 10, encryption. Whenever possible, the goal is to encrypt files at rest and in motion. Think email, especially on mobile devices, laptops, mobile phones. Encryption is the process of converting your data to unrecognizable or encrypted form. An encrypted file will appear scrambled to anyone who tries to view it. It must be decrypted in order to be recognized. Some encrypted files will require a password to open, while others require a private key, which can be used to unlock the files associated with it. This means if someone obtained your device, would they be able to view the contents without a key or an encryption method? A couple of good things to know here, Microsoft BitLocker. It's a free encryption option that's available to most anyone that is running Windows 8.1 Pro and Windows 10 Pro operating systems. Installation and configuration can be a little bit tricky, but an IT professional like CTTS will be able to help you. Newer Apple devices, they encrypt their contents by default with various levels of protection. You want to make sure you've got passwords on that. We'll touch a little bit on that later. Android devices. They also have the ability to encrypt data. A little bit different options depending on the flavor of your Droid device, but encryption is big. Employee training. You've got to train your employees, and you've got to train them often. Teach them about data security, email attacks, and your policies and procedures. This is a simple task that's seldom done. We often go into our clients for a lunch and learn and spend 30 to 60 minutes discussing specific topics and answering their questions. As you can see, there are lots of different plans, policies, and procedures. Some of these might be in place with your company, but the problem is most of them, they may be in process, but they're in between the ears of one of your employees' heads, right? We're going to dig deep in a few of these, and they're very important, and often they're overlooked. First of all, what's a plan, policy, and a procedure? A plan is a detailed guide for someone to follow a specific event. A great example of a plan is every company needs is a business continuity plan. A business continuity plan outlines what to do in the event of interruption of service. This can mean if the internet or electricity goes out, what happens when an employee can't get into work due to snow, ice, flooding, or other severe weather. You know, here in Texas, that's not uncommon, especially in the past few years in the central Texas area. We even have some clients that have to worry about social disruption. They need a plan in place in case there's a riot, a march, or a demonstration in the streets of downtown Austin. A disaster recovery plan is also essential for every company. Did you know that businesses with a disaster recovery plan report increased savings, enhanced system reliability, improved security, and reduce their insurance premiums even without a disaster? Only 6% of the companies without a disaster recovery plan survive a disaster. That's huge. The cost of data breaches and data loss will top $2.1 trillion by 2019 as more data gets digitized. The majority of these data breaches will come in the form of existing infrastructure and IT systems. Next is a policy. A policy is written that establishes the acceptable use guidelines for all company-owned technology resources. For example, every company should have an acceptable use policy. This policy includes your computers, your networking equipment, audio and visual equipment, software, and resources. Procedures. This is the who, what, when, where, and why of the implementation of the policy. Who can order servers? What operating systems are installed? When can they be installed? Where the server is located? Why is the server needed? All extremely important. Next, passwords. You need to apply security policies on your network. Big thing out there is denying USB devices to be used. The U.S. military back in 2008 banned USB devices. And the reason that is because of malware. 50% of the people found with a thumb drive in their 50% of the people who found a thumb drive in their office, what do you think they did? They went over and they plugged it into their computer. That's a great way to infect your computer with a virus. If I wanted to get virus into a doctor's office, a financial advisor, or any other company, it's been an effective way of doing it. Now what happens if the thumb drive has the logo of your company on it? If I put your company logo on the thumb drive and left it in the parking lot, 80% of the people will plug that into their computer. This is how someone got a worm in the uranium nuclear plant. Big news. Be very aware of this. Passwords. Don't share passwords. This includes with your IT guy. He needs to be able to get you to a certain point and let you type them in. one password per account. Don't have one password that you use every single time. You've got to be able to have a different password for every single account, for every single website you use, every single computer everything's got to have a different password. Here's a big one. It's going to be tough for some of you. No password post-it notes. You've got to be able to get your passwords off of post-it notes. If you don't have a method for creating these passwords, there are plenty of password managers out there nowadays that are very, very good. You need to change those passwords every 60 days. Um, there's different ways to create these different passwords. One of the things I love to use is password generating sites. So you can just Google that. The one I use and go to most often is passwordsgenerator.net. But you use a third-party one, so it's something not generic, something that can't be guessed just because of things that are gleaned off other sites and other information that people are obtaining from you. But above all, use a strong password. You've got to make sure you have good passwords in place. Next, spam filtering. We've already covered this, but most attacks originate in your email. Everybody's sitting in front of their email all day long. It's critical that you secure your email with free or inexpensive best practice techniques. The best spam protection is the one where it deletes the spam before it even arrives on your computer. If the spam makes it to your spam folder in your Outlook or whatever your email application is, or gets flagged as spam, it's already made itself onto your machine. It's just waiting for you to go take that next step and open it. Next, computer updates. This is huge. Microsoft, Adobe, Java, those are some of the main applications we are always using every single day, and there's updates on a daily, weekly, and monthly basis depending on how critical they are. So you want to be proactive. You want to be able to get those out there and installed on your machine. One of the biggest things is that upwards of 90% of the attacks that exploit vulnerabilities is because of unpatched software. So you want a service, you want the ability to automate this process and make sure your computers have the most up-to-date information. Advanced security, number 4. Antivirus alone is no longer enough to keep you protected. You have to have a layered approach. Free antivirus that someone gave you is not going to cut it. It will not keep you protected against a 0-day or a new threat. Free antivirus was given to you to sell you the premium version. Don't ever forget that. There's little or no support with free antivirus, and often there's advertising on those free versions. Look, any of the free antivirus will protect you against the I love you virus that started spreading of May of 2000, but you need the ability to detect tomorrow's threats today. So a layered approach, making sure your network's in good working order, your computers, multi-layered approach there, making sure you've got policy and procedures in place so you don't have employees going out and doing certain things on the internet that could open them up to risk. User training. Make sure that your employees know what they should be doing. Don't just assume it. Then you want to be able to report off of it and test it. And that's an ongoing process. Next, your firewall. Most routers and firewalls you buy at Best Buy or Office Depots are really screen doors to your network. Every day we hear of these off-the-shelf devices being hacked or compromised. Would you want your bank to have a screen door to the vault? Why would you have a screen door to your computer equipment, your client files, QuickBooks data, prospects bids, employee records? Just a few weeks ago, Netgear released information about a security flaw in 11 of their routers. This means an attacker could change the router settings, reroute your browser to sites under his or her control, and basically steal your banking logins, anything that you were typing in there. Gives them ability to turn on your webcams to see all the unencrypted data that you send and receive. So anything going across that router that goes out to the internet, they'd be able to siphon off there and do whatever they wanted to with it on their own time. Netgear and most of other consumer-oriented routers are simply not appropriate for most business people and companies. While these may be a step up from no router at all, which that's the worst option, they suffer from a flaw worse than any single security issue, and that's updating the firmware. A business class router is necessary for your business. Back up your data, number 2, very, very important. This deserves its own webinar right here. But essentially, you've got to back up your data locally. You've got to back it up to the cloud. You've got to have multiple ways of getting that data no matter what happens to the organization, whether that be a flood, whether that be the power supply on the server, whether that be that a tornado took the complete building out. You want to be able to answer the question, if the building's no longer here, my server's no longer here, where's my business tomorrow? And then you've got to be able to say, what data do I need to back up off these devices in order to make sure that we're up and running tomorrow? And here it is. Here's the number one security feature you need to have. It's the security assessment. And these are really, we covered a lot of ground in these previous slides, and ultimately the 9 previous slides add up to what every business needs. It's a security assessment. If you don't know where you are, how are you going to know where you're going? So many organizations leave themselves open to all types of risks just because they haven't taken the proper time to assess their IT infrastructure and business as a whole. You need a comprehensive evaluation that scrutinizes your network architecture, authentication and access control, firewall and router configurations, patch management, system configurations, confidential data handling, your anti-spyware, malware, and virus implementation, and your data backup. But here it is. Here's the bottom line. You need to get serious about protecting your company against cybercrime right now. But what does that look like? Let me share what that looks like with you. So first, it's a threat assessment. What's lacking in your security right now? How are employees using company-owned devices? What are third-party cloud apps are you using? Are your systems truly backed up? Where are you exposed to any risk? Whose job is it to make sure your network is protected? And how do you know if they're doing their job? Number 2, you've got to create an action plan. Based on what's discovered from the assessment, what we need to do is to ensure your systems, data, and operations are secure from theft, compromise, and corruption. And lastly, ongoing maintenance. You definitely don't want to take a set it and forget it approach, because your attackers are not. Now, many of you are asking, how are we going to do that? Well, here, today only, I'm going to offer you a free cybersecurity assessment. This is a 57-point assessment, a process that has taken us 14 years to perfect, something that we normally charge $500 for. During this assessment, we'll look for hidden problems developing under the surface that could turn into bigger, more disastrous events that could cost you thousands in lost productivity, downtime, computer repair bills. If nothing else, you'll get a third-party review of your computer's network security, backups, and performance. It never hurts to get a second opinion. To take advantage of this offer, you've got to be able to call me or email me today. So my email address is listed here, josh.wilmuth@cttsonline.com, or you can call me directly at 512-717-9061. Just shoot me an email, give me a call, let me know you're interested in the free cybersecurity assessment. We'll schedule an appointment. I'll personally come out there and we'll conduct that. Now, I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to spend with me and learning about how to keep yourself protected. As promised, I want to get you the book and the report. All you need to do is go out to the bottom, the page listed at the bottom here. That is bit.ly/IT-survival. Head out there, fill out the information, and I'll have you the book and the report over to you. It'll go out today. Both of these are great resources and to get and stay protected. Lastly, this is how you get in touch with us. This is our main number. This is my email address. This is our website. Also listed here are Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn pages. Please go out there and visit those. We spend a lot of time to gather things that our clients need to know, from how to keep themselves protected to other threats that are happening each and every day. And please feel free to reach out to us anytime. We're here to be of service. And thank you very much for your time today. I hope you learned a lot, and I hope you're able to take some of this information and go back and use it. And if you do have any questions or want any follow-ups, please let me know. We're here to help anytime. Take care, and we'll see you next time.